organique. Et l'idée fait chaud. Côté du travail, eh bien, nous fait chaud. Et le plus souvent, les CCA, si on y est, eh bien, on fait chaud là, parfois, il est difficile pour la famille. Imaginez si vous-même qui travaillez la caille. Mais vous faites chaud. Bah, il y a un peu de fait chaud, il n'y a pas de travail. On y a l'homme fait chaud, c'est réellement terrible. On ne peut pas faire rien du tout. Et puis il y a tout fardeau, toute charge là, et bien, il posé sur l'autre monde, sur madame. Il y a madame la responsable, non seulement pour prendre soin de Simonio, mais pour prendre soin de tout qui marie, bien madame. Ça que nous devons apprendre à soi, pour qu'à prendre soin de tête, pour qu'à prendre soin de tête. Il y a un pile de bagages au capable de faire, j'en ai parlé. Manger que nous mangeons. Nous connaissons un pile, en tant qu'Haïtien, nous aimons bagages qui goûtent, et parfois bagages qui goûtent, il y a un petit là. Parfois, nous aimons des bagages qui ont un pile. Nous aimons grillons. Nous aimons grillons. Pas qu'à on dit ça, nous aimons grillons. Mais il y a des conséquences. Celle-là, ça y est. Celle-là, il fait l'IKB de l'eau. l'IKB de l'eau dans le fond. Et il y a des conditions que vous gagnez. L'eau n'a pas qu'à aller contre. Je parle de l'autre médicament pour faire de l'eau à lui-même là. Quand il y a ça, à cause de l'autre problème. Les amis qui visitent nous à Soya, pour nous, c'est nous, pour aider tête. Si nous besoin pour rappeler, si vous parlez avec le monde, le visage est normal, et bien soudainement, où est le visage lié, on va plus fort. On va parler avec lui où il n'est pas capable de bouche normal. Et on va parler avec lui où il est bavé à sortir dans la bouche. Vous avez besoin de poser cette question. Pour qui ça comme ça? On va parler avec mon nom, dit mon a mangé pour y être, il n'est pas capable de manger pour y être. Mon n'est pas capable de marcher, ça c'est un problème. Mon n'est pas capable de parler normal. Ou bien, on n'a pas qu'à rappeler. On n'a pas qu'à rappeler que c'est les personnes qui bloquent. Gagnons tout, c'est les personnes qui pétent. Et malheureusement, en tant que l'homme, ce n'est pas tout bagaille dans le corps qui fonctionne normal, j'aime la fonctionner. Parfois, on arrive dans le docteur et puis, ça c'est faire mal. Ils font 4 skins pour vous, ils vont dans machine pour 4 skins pour vous. Et puis, on dit, ce n'est pas un gain, non, mais ça peut venir avec intérieur parce que vous collectez, et bien, il y a une qui est mal collectée. Quand il y a collecté ou mal collecté, et bien soudainement arrivé, il y a un éclat. C'est normal, et puis ça arrive. Et moi, je me dis, un jeune garçon, il y a des et puis tout a été normal. Pour les soudainement à l'hôpital, là, il passe tout le bon. Ils vont peut-être faire mal. Et puis là, on fait 4 pour les jeunes, et bien, c'est vers celui qui est mal connecté. Atterrir avec maintenant mal connecté, il y a un problème. Eh bien, ça qu'on a fait, on n'a pas ça. Vous avez besoin de prendre soin de tête. Prendre soin de tête, manger bien, faire exercice. Et puis tout, il y a le bagaille, c'est ça qui est capable de les anger. L'on fâché, eh bien, ça a un fil à ouais avec tension. Les gens qui aiment fâcher tout le temps, eh bien, ils font une bonne nouvelle et pour tension.
All right. But those are the most common signs of a stroke. However, we've all heard about the TIA, where your doctor would say, you just had a TIA. What does that mean? Some people call it mini stroke, but I would tell you that this is a warning for stroke. Okay? Don't take it lightly. If you have a family that have a change in their mentation, like they became confused, they're not talking right, they're not acting right, that's when you have to call for, go to the doctor, or if they have a high blood pressure, you have to call 911 already, okay? Because they could either be having a full-blown stroke or a TIA or a mini stroke. So, what happens when you call 911? Your family member goes to the hospital. The first thing that they do is they have to make sure that they can actually give you medications or a surgery if it's needed. They're going to do a CAT scan. They're going to ask you whether your family member have had it for less than 4 hours. If so, they will give you a medication called TPA. That's actually a very potent clot buster. And what it does is it dissolves the clot in your brain. That is actually a medication that's been around for about 20 years, and we have good results with it. However, it depends on how early you are recognized to have a stroke rate to really work. Number two, the other thing that they can do is to do a thrombectomy. That's a surgical procedure wherein they remove the clot that's actually in your arteries. That's also done in the hospital. And if it's a bleed, meaning you have a blood vessel that's bleeding, a little bit of a inflation right there, and a hematoma is just bleeding, what they do is they could either clip it right here, or they could do coiling right there, which are tiny mesh coils that they put to prevent it from bleeding. Those are all done in the hospital. As a caregiver, once they go home, who takes care of the patient or the family member? It's the family member that's a caregiver, the wife, if it's the husband that's affected, right? So the most important thing is for the caregiver to be involved in the care as well. So as a caregiver, this is going to be your hardest work because you are going to be there to support your loved one. What you need to do is, it's better to find out than miss out. So on the get-go, once your family member is in the hospital, if you are going to be the designated family member to be the caregiver, you need to talk to the doctor what needs to be done, what has been done, and rehabilitation. Where do we go from here? And the other thing is reducing the risk of stroke by maintaining to a healthy diet, an exercise program, rehabilitation program, and medication. You are going to reduce the stroke of a second stroke for your loved one. Because what happens is after your first stroke, there is another 40% chance they are expected again to have another stroke. After 3 strokes, the chances of the loved one getting into a normal state is very difficult, almost impossible. If you do not maintain the blood pressure, you do not do rehabilitation, and you do not have full recovery. And don't ignore falls. Why is that? Once you come home, they give you medication. If it is a clot, they give you a medication that's called probably aspirin. You've heard about it. Okay. Aspirin thins the blood, and it would probably with another medication called Plavix. That's very, popular. Between those two, it thins your blood, and when you do fall, you sustain a fall, your chances of having a brain bleed or a bleed in any part of your body is very, it's expected, almost expected that if you are getting these medications and you fall, you're going to have a brain bleed. And that's another medical emergency. And measuring progress matters. It's very hard to be sick and be sick all the time. What you need to do is you need to be the cheerleader for your family member, like telling them the small progress that they've had, like being able to use the spoon now by themselves. That's why it's very important for you to say what is normal or be better than the condition right now. So make sure that you have someone that will be helping you with Medicare and whatever rehabilitation that they do qualify. Sometimes we do have case management in the hospital that would help you, but if you have like church members that are aware that could help you with the paperwork to make sure that they get the full rehabilitation, that is actually a very good resource that you need to tap on, because if they don't get rehabilitated, they would not get the full functioning. They would not have a better progress. And monitor changes in attitude. What happens if you have a chronic disease? You actually become depressed. Depression is actually another key that would make one person not improve their condition. Okay? So if that happens, if you see one that's not mingling like they used to, they're not talking, they're not eating, that's actually a condition that you need to tell the doctor, because that needs to be addressed. Seek out support. Family, friends, church members, clergy, anybody that can help you out. because you're not doing this alone. You're doing it with the help of other resources, because otherwise, it's not going to be successful. It really takes a community just like this to be able to keep our population healthy. Which I'm very glad that you guys are doing this, because it does take, and know your rights. Like what I said, if you are 65 and over, you do qualify for Medicare, and Medicare does cover for 30 days of rehabilitation. And not everyone would tell you that. That means you are going to a rehab facility, you are going to be working with a speech pathology and physical therapy so they can help you walk, speak, eat on your own, bathe on your own, or move around on your own. And the other thing is take care of yourself. Don't forget, even if you have a sick family member, you have to take care of yourself. Otherwise, if there's 2 people now sick in a family, it's more of a burden. So, I think that concludes my presentation. Thank you so much. You just have to remember that stroke is time loss, and time loss is brain loss. So the earlier that you could recognize a stroke coming on, and the earlier the treatment is given, the better you are.
Okay, Miss Lily, fini la présentation. Par contre, si il y a une question, if there's any question for Miss Lily, we can do that in 5 minutes if there's any question. Si vous avez une question dans l'audience, et Frère Daniel.
Ça a une malconnexion qui est là-dedans par rapport avec la terre là. Est-ce qu'il y a une possibilité pour que vous corriger ça? Est-ce qu'il y a une possibilité pour corriger ça? Ok, d'accord, merci.
Okay, the first question is there a medical reason to smoke? Absolutely not. There is no medical reason to smoke. There is no medical reason to smoke. Actually, smoking would cause you to have 5 different types of cancer: lung cancer, cancer of the esophagus, cancer of the stomach, cancer of the lung. What happens is, like what I showed you on the other picture, there is actually a ballooning on the vessel, and it just bursts, and that's it, because you have a weakened vessel, which can be hereditary. What can they do about it? It's early recognition. If you have all the small headaches just right here, one spot doesn't go away, no matter what you do, it actually begs to be investigated. You might need to go for a CAT scan. And then if you have a family member that just fell off, collapsed, and then died, that's actually another thing that you can tell your doctor. So I had a family member that just died suddenly, we don't know the cause, because that might have been an AVM that had burst, and now we have a brain bleed. What can they do about it? That's actually a surgical procedure, like what I told you about the coiling and the clipping. That's what they do, if it's caught early. And the other thing, that's just a surgical procedure. But what can you do? You have to diminish the risk. Keep your blood pressure down, modify your diet, modify your lifestyle, and take care of yourself. Reduce stress. Oh, I forgot about that. Stress is another one that would actually be a precursor or a cause for you to be ill or be sick. Because what happens with stress? Your body is always on the alert, right? You do not rest. So what happens is that your body keeps on running. All the epinephrine, that's your fight or flight. And if that gets exhausted, your blood vessels actually keeps working, and your heart keeps pumping. And that overstretch eventually would cause the stiffen or cause to have blood clots because of the clogging. That's it, sir.
Okay. We have another question. What can cause severe or repetitive headache? Ça cause tête fait mal dur et qui répète tout le temps. What can cause severe and repetitive headache? What should we do to solve that? If there's anything we can do to solve that. Est-ce qu'il y a une raison de faire une solution?
When you go to the doctor and you tell them you have a headache, headache is the disease, or headache is a symptom that could happen with very different kinds of diseases. One is they would ask you, when does it start? Do you have anything else that you feel? Do you see scars? Do you feel dizzy? Where does it start? Does it start on your eyes? Does it go anywhere else? Does it spread anywhere? How long does it last? When does it begin? Is it at nighttime, daytime? What were you doing? Okay. What happens is a headache is a symptom. It can be a symptom of high blood pressure. Sometimes the headache that comes from here, the back of your neck, means you have high blood pressure. Okay? A headache that starts on your eye, right here, maybe you have poor eyesight. Are you squinting when you're reading? Or you're trying to look at street signs? Are you squinting when you're reading? Those are actually stress. That's a sign of stress. So headaches can be different things. A headache can also be because migraines. Some people suffer from migraines. And that migraine actually, before you take, they give you medication called Imitrex, and that would solve it. Sometimes they tell you it's stress related, which sometimes can. You have the stress headache. And if it's your blood pressure, you need to give a blood pressure medication perhaps. And if it's something else, they would have to do a CAT scan and see whether you do have AVM, or arteriovenous malformation, which is actually a very invasive condition if it's not treated. And if sometimes the other worst thing that can happen with headaches is because you have a brain mass. That's why headaches is actually just a symptom and not a disease by itself.
Okay, Madame Lily va en finir parce que moi je peux ma téléphone briefly en créole. If Telemark want to talk about it a little bit, or should I translate a little bit? The expert is there.
Certainement, c'est pour bagaille pour nous ignorer. C'est très important. Chaque fois que c'est sang qui n'a pas et bien sang cause de cause maintenant de carte et ça limite fraîche pour maintenant il y a tête qui n'a pas mal. Très important les tests contre le mal pour nous les raisons et bien les contre le mal. En tant que question que nous te poser, qui ça on fait lorsque mon a gagné un EVM, anterior virus malformation. Et bien lorsque mon a gagné, il appelle un chirurgien, il a utilisé des outils, il parle dans le brain, la mettre en bagarre là-dedans pour capable faire des capsules, mais la mettre en bagarre là-dedans pour boucher, pour pas continuer ça. Mais le problème qui est dans la procédure ça, eh bien, il y a une chance pour éviter. Il y a une condition qui bon, mais l'arrivée, et l'arrivée, c'est là que ça m'a donné l'idée de gagner. C'est comme ça qu'on va prendre. C'est là l'arrivée où on va faire cette fois pour mal, il fait 4 15 là. Eh bien, c'est l'artérielle avec maintenant qui est mal connecté. C'est ça qui cause, eh bien, ça arrive. Et s'il est là, pas de l'autre baguette qu'on fait pour, eh bien, c'est ça.
Okay, we have one final question for Miss Lily and Brother Telemark. Nous avons l'autre question, c'est Frère Lucien.
Nous connaissons que le cerveau l'homme a un double rôle. C'est l'imagination et mémoire. Imaginez comment futur il y a pied. Mais mémoire là, c'est sur le passé. Et psychologiquement parlant, il y a les mémoires courtes et mémoire longue. Mémoire courte, non, c'est que vous doit laisser parler ensemble avec vous là, et vous regarder, et vous oublier le sujet que nous avons débattu ensemble avec vous. Et il y a des gens dans la mémoire longue, non, c'est que quitter mon bagage quelques mois, la chercher côté de mettre là, il va jamais arriver trouver. M'a demandé est-ce que stroke là même moun qui a mémoire longue est-ce que stroke là capable de nous rendre une mémoire courte?
Okay, are you translating that, Brother Tillamook? Good.
Yes. Stroke can alter your short-term and long-term memory. If you have a stroke on your right side of the brain, what's usually affected is your left side of your body. That's just how the brain works. So if you have a stroke on your right side of the brain, chances are you would not be able to you would lose long-term memory. You would not remember. If you have a stroke on the left side of the brain, your right side of the brain your right side of the body would be affected. You would not be able to move your right side, or it would be weaker. And what happens is it would be more difficult for you to learn new tasks. So different functions. So the right side of the brain is mostly for memory, and the left side of the brain is mostly for tasks,
Very good.
for feelings.
Brother Tillamook, you want to elaborate on that?
Et question li, réponse li bail c'est que Brendan il y a plusieurs parties là-dedans. Stroke là capable affecter une dans partie ça. Et ça dépend des parties qui affectent et bien pour aller joindre dommage pour gagner. Brendan il y a plusieurs parties là-dedans, mais si il y a une partie qui est affectée, et bien une dans mémoire qui longue dans des là qui est affecté, capable d'affecter. Et une dans bagaille qui affecte mémoire l'homme, et bien c'est une maladie de Alzheimer. Et les gens ont commencé à agir, et bien, mémoire de gagné, et bien, ils ont effacé. Et la science a essayé de décoder pour et bien, comment on est capable de apporter une solution avec ça. Et pour une nation, c'est vraiment important. Pas bailler moun pour la tête, pas bailler moun pour des têtes, ça va bon tout. Et pas mettre dans une situation côté où vous pourrez être dans un bateau, pas baisser, pour entendre, pour respirer les ballons. Parce que Brennan dépend de l'oxygène. Si vous faites 6 minutes pour ne pas respirer, même si vous venez dans l'hôpital, quel que soit l'hôpital, vous avez un et vous ne pas respirer pour 6 minutes, eh bien, vous parlez encore. Il y a plein d'organes par le monde, mais vous-même personnellement, vous parlez encore.
All right, let's give it up for Brother Tillamook and Sister Miss Lily. I can hear you well. It's a workshop. Et en anglais, on dit shop de travail après. On shop. That's his workshop. So c'est côté nous venir pour nous éduquer tête nous, pour nous former tête nous, apprendre une série de bagages bien, pile bagages que nous apprenons aujourd'hui, et nous continuons à apprendre après. Nous continuons en créole après workshop. Nous continuons avec le programme because this is great and I'm very happy. I will put my hands together again for Miss Lily. And we thank you for taking that precious time. You should be listening to some Democratic right now, but you're here to help us and to help the community. I like when you say the church is a community. Oui, nous sommes une communauté, côté que bon Dieu nous donne pour nous soutenir l'autre, aider l'autre, c'est comme ça que nous continuons à avancer et togetherness. Nous continuons à faire nos défauts, maintenant nous laissons nous gagner un bagage qui est assez important pour nous approcher. Le plus gros problème qui est aux États-Unis, ce n'est pas job $6 qui cause, ni ce n'est pas job $7, ni ce n'est pas job $10, ni passe pour toucher $100,000 par année. Qui est-ce qui crée plus de problèmes aux États-Unis? Debt. Là, nous avons problème, gens nous manage. What can I afford? What can I buy? What can I afford? Et Monsieur Champion font bagay qui bon. You do buy here, pay in 4 years, right? Today, God blessed us. We're gonna have our brother, Mr. Roosevelt Desir, who's gonna tell us about financial management, how to manage your finance. We're gonna put our hands together to welcome Mr. Desir.
Yeah. Sorry, I can't get this down. Sorry, I can't be this. Aí voou. Maybe cool change your life. This is not the Stop that.
Anglais fait ici, so la partie dans l'eau. So si nous pas ici, I try my best to changer anglais après pour nous, okay? That's okay? All right. On est là. Okay. Não conta no tempo lá só ela, mas não sei o que ver. Eu vou dizer a American Financial Service PFS Investments. Não vai estar when Fed, when started funding with education de l'argent, ils ont l'argent de travail. Que le monde non. Comme nous ne parlons de retire à l'homme oh, les gens qui ont pas menti would like to, how many of you guys would like to retire with $500,000? Or just half? What about $250,000? Guys, you're in church. None of you guys would like or have ever dreamed about retiring with $250,000? By a show of hands, by a show of hands, let me see. Okay. All right. Now,
You guys can hear me clearly, right? Important question. How many of you guys believe that it's possible to retire with $250,000? So I only see 3 hands. Oh, we got a couple more that popped up. Okay. But what if I told you for as low as $4.16 a day, you could retire with $250,000? Would you do it? By a show of hands. How many of you would put $4.16 a day away to retire with $250,000? If I could show you. Okay. But one of the biggest things that we have to address is debt, right? What about lack of money? How many people work hard? We're in church, guys. Come on now. We're in church. We can speak the truth. It's okay. We all work hard, right? Can we agree? Okay. If we're working hard, why is it that we never have enough money? Can I get anybody to, why do you think that if everybody says they're working hard, why is it that we never have enough money? I hear too many bills. What else? We spend more than we make. What else?
Depending what we make.
Huh?
Depending what we make.
Depending on what you make. Depending on la cueva. What me cueva? Parce que vous devez nous faire okay? All right, without further ado, I'd like to introduce Coach Willie Sneed.
Good evening. First of all, I'd like to thank my personal Lord and Savior. I'm going to share with you more of a testimony than a presentation. And I think most people today could relate to personal testimony when it comes to finances, being in debt, wanting to know how to be debt-free. As Roosevelt just said, I've been a high school coach. I've coached at the collegiate level, coached at the high school level, coached a lot of guys that got their college degrees and went on and played professional sports and are able to take care of their families. But one of the things that I found out was no one ever told us in our community. I'm from Belgrade, out on the muck, way out west. A lot of people didn't tell us what it was like to save money. We were told just to put your money in the bank and that is safe there. So that were experts when it came to finances, I realized that I never got ahead. You just kind of staying in one position and you're not moving forward. But after 23 years of coaching and teaching at the high school level, I just retired 4 weeks ago. And my goal was, when I was 25, I said that I would never work for another person before I'm 50. So if you all can guess my age, I've already retired. And it's been almost 25 years. And with the foundation, my spiritual foundation and belief, it has allowed me to do that. And what I'm doing at this point is sharing it all over the country. I have my own Facebook show. It's Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays at 8:30 in the morning. And I talk and educate individuals, families, young people about how to win the money game. See, I worked when I was in high school. And I kept my money. I kept it in my room in a shoebox. Because at that time, my mom, she coming from a single parent family, she didn't have a bank account. So I put my money in a shoebox. For me, that was the safest place for it to be. But what I know today and what this man knows today, if someone had told me, hey, Willie, you need to put that money in the bank, every check that you get, just put a little bit every month. And over 30 years, I would be somewhere else different. But what I want to educate you on, if there's two things you get out of this message, is you're going to learn how to win the money game. So out of shape financially, what does that mean? It means that we don't understand what the value of a dollar is, what we do with money when we get it, how do we take care of our kids, how do we set up our family for generations and generations and generations to where they can look in your family tree and say that she or he was responsible for our wealth today in our family. That's missing from our communities. None of us, I know I didn't. There was no picture in our house. We had a picture of Jesus, my grandmother, who raised me. That was the only picture we had hanging up in our house. There was no picture of anyone in our family that was responsible for us being financially free. We had to work and work and work. And most of us are just kind of on a little hamster wheel. We're just kind of going nowhere fast, right? So everyone knows what the definition of insanity is, right? It's doing the same thing over and over and over, expecting a different result. And somehow we have to get off that hamster wheel and start running in a positive direction. Do you all agree? There's two scriptures I want to share with you, and then I'm going to get into this presentation here And this was posed to me when I first started to understand money. There's two scriptures. One is Luke 6:13. Okay? Luke 6:13 says, the rich rule over the poor, and the borrower is a slave to the lender. That's where we're at. Either you're the rich or the poor, or you're the borrower or the lender. And a lot of us were the poor, and I was the borrower. And no matter how you look at it, you're in one of those two scenarios. And for me and my family, growing up in a single parent family, my mom, when she worked, my mom did not have a college degree. Okay, for most of you that are older, she went to night school. And she got her certification as a typist. And then in the off season, she was a migrant worker. She hopped on the bus and rode all the way up to New York, pulling corn, tomatoes, and I didn't see my mom for 6-7 months at a time. That's where she had to go to make a living and bring that money back so we can have a chance at a decent life. And I'm not ashamed of that. I love my mother. She's my absolute best friend because I saw what she did to make sure that most of our kids, we say, hey, mom and dad, can I get these new shoes or can I? And we hate telling them no, right? We find ways to get it done. But I want to share with you there's a way that we're going to help you get this done. I just want you to trust what we're telling you. Trust what we're telling you. Take whatever information that you get from this and use it to your advantage. The second scripture from Proverbs 22:7 says, no one can serve two masters. Either you will hate the one and love the other, or you will be devoted to one and despise the other. You cannot serve both God and money. Now, as Roosevelt said, my son is playing in the NFL. The money that he makes, I could have never imagined and dreamed of making that kind of money today. When I played in the NFL, the money wasn't as big as it is today. These guys today, one contract, and they're set for life. You're not talking about hundreds of thousands of dollars. You're talking about guys that are making over $100 million, and they don't know what to do with it. So what I want to share with you is about credit. Okay, how many times have you gone somewhere, either going to a car dealership or you're wanting to get a home for your family so you can have a place to stay, and you get denied? I've had that happen to me. I never checked my credit score. You know why? I was afraid, because I knew in college, you get these credit cards in the mailbox and they tell you there's a $500 credit limit on it. And just like everyone else, I thought that was free money. So you know what I did? I ran to the mall, bought me some shoes, bought me some warm-ups, and I maxed that thing out. And boy, when I saw that letter in the mail, I'm like, what's this? And it was like, well, this is the amount due. Now, mind you, I'm in college. I don't have a job. So I'm thinking, okay, I'll just throw it in the garbage. I did that for 4 years, and those people chased me. They chased me. And I just within the last year, here's what I had. I looked at my credit score for the first time 5 years after I got married. It was a 448. I didn't even know what that was. I'm like, that must be pretty good, you know? But no one ever told me what the credit scale was. This credit scale is 850. And when I realized, I did the math, I said, man, I'm in terrible shape, you know? But that's where I was. And here's the thing, I have a college degree, I have a great job, a great career. I walk in the dealership, I see this car that I want, and I say, man, I'm gonna get that car. I got money in my pocket, I can pay for it. I'm like, what are you talking about? I can make the payment on it. I said, well, sir, your credit is not good. So I got pissed and I walked out. I'll just go to another dealership. Went into the next dealership, sir, you know, we can't extend your credit. You know, your credit score is too low. You need to check your credit. So at some point, I went to another dealership and it wound up being like Groundhog Day. It's like every car dealership you go into, you get denied, you know, and I just got frustrated. But you know what? I had to pick up a mirror and I had to look in it. I was the problem. And I didn't educate myself. I got angry at the system because I thought that they were treating us bad because we're just bad people. And I know that's not the case. So I looked at this. This is the first thing that I looked at. And I looked at, okay, where am I at? Okay, you look at 5% payment history and amount owed. You know what? I went all the way back to when I was in college. That debt was still on my credit report saying that I owed them money. And that beat my credit down. And I'm talking since 1987. It's 2016. I have finally got my credit score after fighting, writing letters, being an advocate, taking care of my family, my friends. It's like, hey, coach, man, I need you to fix my credit. My credit score today is 750. And for the first time, I was able to walk into a car dealership and I saw this, my kid graduated, we went out and celebrated. I had this big van and I said, we don't have to use this van anymore, let's get a smaller car. So we got a 2-seater sports car and I told my kids, you can come back and visit, but you can't stay. It's time for us. We've done our job for 26 years to get them out. So today, to be able to walk into a car dealership, I saw this black convertible Porsche, and it's a dream car of mine. I walk in, I'm walking around the lot, and the guy says, sir, can I help you? I said, how much is that car? He told me what the car cost, and he said, would you like me to run the numbers on it? And I'm having flashbacks from years ago, just waiting for that message for them to say, sir, we can't extend your credit to them. So my wife, she said, no, go ahead and have them do it. Guy comes back out in 20 minutes and he says, sir, can you come inside? We'd like to sit down and talk to you about your options. I'm like, really? I'm like, that car right there? He said, yes. And I went in, did the paperwork, and here's the thing, where credit comes into play. With the credit that I originally had, at 448, that car payment for that Porsche was going to cost me $1,500 a month. You hear that? $1,500 a month. When I went in there and sat down with that guy, I asked him, I said, what's my credit score? He said, sir, you got great credit. I'm like, I need to know the score because the only number I had stuck in my head was 448. So he came down to the monthly payments. He said, well, here's your options. He said, your options are, if you want to put something down, it's $500 a month. Now that $1,500 was like hanging out there because I knew that was the worst case scenario. This is how God works. I was able to walk out of that dealership with a sports car at $337 a month. Payment. That's what my cost was. And that's when I realized the value of credit. And then buying a home. My wife and I, her credit was always great. It was mine. I was a knucklehead. I was the one that didn't listen. But we went and bought ourselves a home. Then I bought myself another car because I said, you know what, I'm approaching retirement. I want my bucket list. Let's go through this bucket list. So I went to the dealership 2 weeks later, saw this black Mercedes Benz. I went in there and I said, sir, how much is this car? He told me what it was. I applied for it. And here's the thing. I have that car for $400 a month. I'm gonna tell you something. 15 years ago, when I bought a car, okay, it was a Honda. It was a regular Honda, a used car. You know how much I paid for that car, the payments on that car? It was $800. $800 for a regular car because my credit was so bad. Now I have 2 luxury cars that's less than the car that I had 15 years ago. You guys understand that? How important credit is? This is something you cannot wait tomorrow to do. Now, you need to see what's in there. Because guess what? When I looked at my credit file and I saw some of the things in there, there were things in my credit report that I'd never seen before. And here's the thing. Here's where the credit reporting agencies make their money. They make their money on individuals like us with bad credit. They sell that. That's how I got my first credit card in college. They take advantage of the young and the ones that don't understand the aspect of credit and money. I make the same amount of money that I made years ago, and I calculated that with good credit, I was able to retire. You don't have to make several $100,000 a year to retire. It's about having good credit, investing wisely, which my brother's going to go through, and understanding when you walk into an establishment, you're in control. For the first time, I was in control when I walked into that car dealership and I sat down with those mortgage lenders and I told them, this is what I want, because I knew my credit score. And now today, I watch my credit score like a hawk. Every week, I'm checking it on my phone, making sure bills are paid on time. And I'm really good at that. I've won championships as a high school football coach. I've had a chance to play at the highest level, the NFL level. In college, I have my degree. I am firmly equipped to be able to help individuals out there like yourself to put you in a position where you can take care of yourself and your family. You don't have to worry about what's going to happen tomorrow with your finances. So I want to, you got to know what your rights are. And the way you do that, you have to educate yourself and you have to take control of your financial situation. If you are looking for an institution to take care of you, you're in trouble. They're not going to do it. Do you remember the scripture that I said? The rich rule over the poor. The borrower is a slave to the lender. It's very, very important that you understand that. But I just wanted to share that with you. Raising your credit card limits. I can show you how to do that. There's so many ways to get your credit up, and it changes your life. It changed my life. My kids, I have 3 kids, 2 boys and a girl. I taught them immediately how to value money. And my daughter, she graduated 2 years ago. She's a fashion design major, and she's going to Europe for free. And she has a 750 credit score. She's 21 years old. I have my oldest son who's playing in the NFL. He has a 750. He went into the dealership with my wife and picked the Mercedes off the floor that he wanted. It was because of 2 things. One, he's a professional athlete and everyone wants to be involved with it. But beyond who he is, they still had to look at his credit and they say, oh, Mr. Sneed, how do you want this car? He said, ship it to New Orleans. That's the power of money. And this brother's going to talk to you guys about investment. Listen, if someone had told me what I know today, life would be so much different. But I believe in educating our community. You have to take ownership. It's just like I talk about in my show on Facebook. This is my locker room. You're all my players. When you're playing sports, regardless of what it is, you got to be fundamentally sound, right? You have to be disciplined. You have to understand how to compete. And you got to know what it feels like to win. Those are the ingredients for being successful financially. If you sit where you're at and you never take one step towards financial
Gas. How many people woke up this morning and washed themselves with Zest or Dial soap? How many people used the iPhone today to call somebody? How many people maybe, printed something on an HP? So you see, we invest in companies, we call them kitchen cabinet companies that you guys know. So ça, les compagnies, ça nous connaît, c'est nos compagnies, ça nous investir. Ça, investment compagnie, c'est notre compagnie, ça nous met dans les mutual funds pour investir pour. Ça, c'est compagnie, ça nous connaît, c'est pas compagnie qui là, dans des jours, il y a
D'ici 30 ans, we invest like $50, mais combien la fait? Mais il y a une raison qui fait nous faire confiance en fait, et il y a une raison dans la façon de parler pour dans la communauté haïtienne. Mais nous, il n'y a pas vraiment safe. Ok, malgré le travail dur. Mais on prend 30 ans, mais presque tout le monde parle là, c'est là. Est-ce que vous travaillez par exemple, combien de fois que vous avez 50 ans qu'on y a là, pour la métier, pour
Ok, ça, chaque en belle question, chaque monde différent. Ça veut dire ça, financial plan, ça, il pas un plan pour tout le monde. Ça veut dire ça, tout le monde a l'âge différent. Ok, chaque monde a un l'air différent. Ça veut dire ça, dépend des situations là, on fait budget là, combien comme nous avons joindre.
we got to find more money. Does that make sense? Versus somebody who's young that can put maybe 50 or 100. So if you're older, that means that we have to load up $200, $300, $400, $500 to get you to the same place because you have a short period of time.
Oui, nous avons trois autres questions. Question que vous avez maintenant, et puis la demande aux belles protéger pour la constitution parce que.
Ok, il y a nous sommes mettre comme la non-investment. Vous faites comme la montée, et puis après vous faites de l'argent. Est-ce que ça va arriver dans comme si nous investissons encore,
Ça, c'est une question, ça va cacher dans la comparaison parce que ça sont longues questions de answer. Mais investissement, chaque investissement est risque. Chaque investissement est risque, donc minimum ça pour chaque monde individuel. Mais c'est leur vendre. Depending leur vendre. Mais value portfolio, c'est juste c'est débat différent. Il y a ça que les value portfolio et puis il y a ça que les leur vendre. So débat, même après le film, on va parler.
Ok, n'a pas de si quelqu'un qui est sur la baille, il y a un cas nous avons une question là pour et puis n'a fait ça très rapide après nous avons l'autre question pour terminer.
Ok.
Merci parce que vous êtes venu, question par moi, vous êtes touché slightly on life insurance.
Yes.
Where you talk about it's not good to have. When you were young, you take term, but if someone is turning 50, you think it's wise to get term or whole life?
When you take a look at term insurance is the cheapest, it's a fraction of what you pay for a whole life. When somebody's older, they need to be front loading on retirement. So this is consider la second class retirement. So no front load, no investment for you. Obviously, not turn on the just for just death. That take a death expension pour nous bury you. Does that make sense? C'est-à-dire si nous n'avons pas même un minimum, on va bury. So toujours tourner parce qu'on va save plus l'argent. Parce que what you can get for a death benefit on a term insurance versus a whole life will go a lot longer versus you losing your cash value within the 3 years that they start collecting on that money.
Okay, very good. We got a last we got another question, but that's the one before the last one.
Et question qu'on va poser là, Léon. Quelle différence on fait entre mutual fund, 401k et stockholder for retirement? Qui est-ce qui a plus de bénéfices là-dedans?
Well, 401k avec IRA, c'est parce que même là, IRA, ça veut dire même qui owner. Même qui own, c'est eux même qui contrôle. 401k c'est notre travail là. Ça veut dire c'est le travail là qui contrôle. Ça veut dire notre travail là c'est le monde ça, custodien là qui gagne l'argent. IRA ou bien 401k. Est-ce qu'on comprend? Tout ça veut dire c'est un mutual fund là. Ça veut dire c'est un basket de compagnies. Ça veut dire c'est un mutual fund qui a 10 compagnies là-dedans. Ou ka gen Walmart, ou ka gen Costco, ou ka gen BP Gas, ou ka gen Johnson & Johnson, c'est ça qui make up mutual fund. Ça veut dire diversify pour vous même ou pas prendre un peu de risque. Est-ce que vous comprenez? Toujours des risques. Toujours des risques. Investir dans suitability a toujours fait avant d'investir. Mais nous minimisons le risque chaque individuel.
Ok, donc il y a une question ou suggestion là.
Monsieur Ousel, donc félicitations. En fait, et pour méthode que vous utilisez là, sont méthodes qui est de courage pour la dame, bien entendu. Raison simple, l'on parle d'éducation financière, d'éducation globale, parce qu'on va parler d'éducation financière. On voit exactement comment investir, pourquoi investir. Si ça sert pour l'investir. Disons, l'info telle méthode pareille, on dit que près de 40 ans, 35 ans, et si la déposé les $20 et $50, on a évité tout problème que le gagner. Disons, nettement difficile pour arriver dans le niveau ça. Mais cependant, si toutefois vous investissez comme lui dans le monde commercial là, il reçoit une formation, disons, il suffit la raison est parce qu'on dit tout à l'heure,
il ne faut pas travailler pour de l'argent, mais il faut faire l'argent travailler pour vous. C'est extrêmement important. Alors, faire l'argent travailler pour vous, après vous. Mais pour arriver à ce niveau, bien entendu, disons, il faut investir et investir encore pour une éducation d'investissement et on va investir pour soit capable et arriver dans tout ça. Bien entendu, dans l'investissement, massif de méthode là, mais méthode qui a une méthode DJD, méthode DJD elle-même, automatiquement bien intérêt à avancer, mais surtout au suffit. Au coup de route là, il y a un problème de maladie, problème de santé, ou aussi des types de volants en compte. Et lors où investir, on va pas jouer sur Internet, mais investir pour garder la qualité de les autres. Son bar qui est important parce que l'homme moderne ne vit pas sans information, car l'homme moderne tire sa formation dans l'information. C'est-à-dire qu'il y a extrêmement investissement, il y a des investissements qui parlent en façon, une obligation pour investir là-dedans. Or, l'investissement comme un côté qui faut facile. Voilà. Donc, moi-même, si on m'a expliqué que nous retournons encore, nous dit comment investir, pourquoi investir, à quoi cela me sert d'investir, et le ça, on va nos méthodes qu'on peut investir pour investir économiquement de l'argent.
Merci. So, nous avons ça, mais en plus de terme, ça qui est associé avec l'investissement, c'est confusing. Vous savez, ça nous-mêmes, nous faisons des camps simples pour nous comprendre. Vous savez, ça il y a des steps pour monter. On ne va pas juste voltiger comme on doit calculer. On ne va pas bâtir un roof, on va mettre des fondations dans le cas. Does that make sense? You got to have the foundation first before you can even build the second or third floor. So you have to learn the basics of investing first. À comprendre. So nous-mêmes, nous commençons dans le level qui est basic pour comprendre qui va développer un roadmap pour follow pour arriver pour arriver. Does that make sense? Ça a une question là? Merci un peu, Louis. Merci.
Ok, merci, frère Osbert. Alors, pas toi bon. Il y a trois bagailles avant de passer à frère Télémac pour remerciement. Moi, je veux remercier et comment frère?
Oh,
Willie. He talked something about credit. Whatever you do, your credit is important. I have a capital, capital 1, the bank credit management. I can every month. If you go by passing me no email, Mr. Fisk, you're going to go up, or Mr. Fisk, you're going to go down. Check it out. So, chaque mois, free credit monitoring with that credit card. Je vais encourager nous pour nous. Bon, nous sommes obligés de crédit 4 mois, obligés de ligne de crédit ou deux. Au moins, nous avons 2 lignes de crédit dans le pays. So, si tu as compté ça et puis faire un account online, ou un moniteur crédit, c'est très important. Et nous avons dit, ma dit, be careful. Je parle avec mon frère dans le bureau, je vais montrer comment vous pouvez acheter des dans l'auction. Mais lorsque acheter des dans l'auction, il y a une bonne ligne procédure qui est avec vous. Je dis avant de 13-40, je vais vous moi qui ça va dire. Et c'est même frère ça qui a promoté, venir acheter des dans même 20-12 000 $. Je dis à mon ligne devant le bureau. Je suis venu parce que c'est PI. Mais non, plus de problème quand tu es dans le cas, 20-40 000 $, c'est pour acheter dans la maison. Donc, j'en fais questionner, rechercher, informer tellement. Parce que la journée, on fait nous en pile temps, la communauté, on fait nous en pile temps, re-questionner tellement encore. Parcours, il investit dans le monde pour acheter un cas de 12 000 $, après ça, banque là, dit, ok, quand la deuxième bounia, et vous perdez tout le et puis après ça, on va dire, voilà, même le monde n'a pas de quoi ces informations dans ce fait là. C'est parce que j'ai une mauvaise intention, mais vous-même, l'information de son est trop good, doit prendre et les nous fort. Avec ça, on a dit pour l'avancer, pour les mots de remerciement, après, il faut être capable de prier pour nous capables de terminer.
Je vous encore dire un grand merci à tout le monde qui a fait le déplacement pour être capable de venir dans la première soirée conférence. Qui est là qui remet ça que dit? Ça, c'est le commencement. Demain, c'était la plus belle. Demain, on a des choses pour parler sur la famille. Demain, c'était des choses pour parler sur l'éducation. Sur les parents, et bien encore, nous inviter. On réellement apprécier tout le monde qui fait sacrifice pour capable venir avec nous aider, comprendre, partager l'information. Si vous avez des questions, qui pas de questions à répondre dans ce que tu dis, vous êtes capable toujours écrire, vous êtes capable de moi-même, ou bien pasteur Fils, ou bien pasteur Raymond, vous êtes capable de répéter des questions sur nous-mêmes, et puis nous avons pour le monde qui te fait présentation.
Nous gagnons un travail pour l'argent, mais c'est pour nous faire l'argent travail pour nous. Et c'est vrai, il est important. Dans le temps, oui, capable de permettre que j'ai l'information, ça y est, nous sommes capables de puiser et quimber pour nous capables de servir avec eux. Car ils sont bons, Seigneur, pour la vie. Donc, Dieu merci pour le monde qui a fait des déplacements, qui est venu, qui est rendu et soirée ça possible. Nous va venir et permettre, Seigneur, que le même va retourner plus ou moins en foule, pour être capable de vivre, tendre et on salue des paroles concernant la famille, car nous connaissons la famille, c'est le même qui base la société. Comment nous sommes capables de vivre dans le foyer, comment nous sommes capables de vivre avec Timounio, et comment, Seigneur, et la vie nous capable d'être et en communication ensemble avec nous, de façon que la vie.